Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Ang topic ko po ay about Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Social learning theory proposed by Albert Bandura emphasizes the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. Social learning theory considers how both environmental and cognitive factors interact to influence human learning and behavior. So we have the three concepts of Bandura's social learning theory. We have observation, imitation, and modeling. In observation, people learn by watching others. In imitation, a thing intended to simulate or copy something else. In modeling, the act of representing something. 5 principles of social learning theory. Bandura, as the creator of the concept of social learning theory, proposes 5 essential steps in order for the learning to take place. Number 1, we have observation. 2, attention. 3, retention. 4, reproduction. 5, motivation. We have the main idea of social learning theory. Social learning theory posits that people emulate the behavior or they observe in their environment, especially if that behavior is reinforced in others. Example of this theory. One of the best known experiments in the history of psychology involved a doll named Bobo. Bandura demonstrated that children learn and imitate behaviors they have observed in other people. Educational implications of social learning theory. Students learn by simply observing others, so we teachers are the role model for students. We must be good mannering in front of children. Self-regulation techniques provide an effective method for improving students' behaviors. Importance of Bandura's theory. Social learning is important because life and work is social. Social learning helps replicate the realities that learners are likely to face when they are required to make an actual decisions and solve actual problems in the workplace. Another, it provides a helpful framework for understanding how an individual learns via observation and modeling. Cognitive processes are central, as learners must make sense of and internal what they see to reproduce the behavior. Application of the social learning theory may be particularly valuable as they can empower people to recognize and trace the roots of their issues, identify patterns they may have not otherwise seen, and ultimately break the habits and behaviors that harm them. Applications of social learning theory. Researchers use the theory to understand how aggressive and violence can be transferred through observational learning open and new. The theory can further be used to investigate how positive role models can foster desirable behaviors and promote social change. We have the advantage and disadvantage of social learning theory. The advantages. One of the primary strengths of social learning theory is its flexibility in explaining the differences in the person's behavior or learning. When there is a change in person's environment, the person's behavior may change. The disadvantage of social learning theory is social learning also brings professional and psychological risks. Why is social learning important for students? Social learning is about helping each others and building networks, which is why it's crucial to create more collaborative spaces for students where they can share knowledge and have conversations about their learning. Cognitive social learning theory. The theory suggests that humans learn behaviors by observing others and choosing which behaviors to imitate. Behaviors that are rewarded are more likely to be repeated, whereas behaviors that are punished are less likely to be repeated. My next topic is all about the information processing theory. Information processing theory developed by American psychologists including George Miller in the 1950s. Information processing theory has in recent years compared the human brain to a computer. Information processing theory is an approach to cognitive development studies that aims to explain how information is encoded into memory. It is based on the idea that humans do not merely respond to stimuli from the environment. Instead, humans process the information they receive. We have the three types of information processing theory. In memory, psychological processes of acquiring, storing, retaining, and later retrieving information. In encoding, initial learning of information. And the storage, maintaining information over time. Importance of information processing helps performers identify relevant cues via selective attention, therefore increasing movement reactions which will lead ultimately to a successful outcome. Successful outcomes are increased if strategies to help enhance our ability to store more information in the long-term memory is practiced. Some main ideas behind information processing theory. At the very heart of cognitive psychology, in the idea of information processing, cognitive psychology sees the individual as a processor of information in much the same way that a computer takes in information and follows a program to produce an output. 5 steps of information processing. 1 is input, 2 is processing, 3 is storage, 4 is output, and 5 is communication. Stages of information processing. We have 1 attending, encoding, storing, and retrieving. In attending, limiting distractions and paying attention. Including paying very close attention and using a strong focus. Storing, keeping information in the brain as memories. Retrieving, remembering information that is stored. Types of knowledge in information processing theory. Long-term memory includes 3 types of knowledge. We have declarative, procedural, and episodic. In declarative, it is knowing that. In procedural, we have knowing how. In episodic, we have the personal stories. 7 information processes. Number 1 is collecting, 2 is organizing, 3 is analyzing, 4 is storing or retrieving, 5 is processing, 6 is transmitting or receiving, and 7 is displaying. 3 stages of receiving information into our memory. Number 1 is sensory memory. In sensory memory, this is the first stage of memory that involves registering a tremendous amount of information about the environment. In short-term memory, capacity of holding a small amount of information in an active, readily available state for about a short interval. And the last is the long-term memory, brain system for storing, managing, and retrieving information. So that's all my report. Thank you for listening and have a good day po.